Welcome back, my fellow degenerate pure pickers, to another edition of Best Bets. I'm here with my man Gerard to kick off this video. We're first going to recap UFC Vegas 89 Rebos versus Namajunas. After that, then me and Gerard will each give our best bets for UFC Atlantic City. After that, we'll then kind of bounce off of each other, whether we agree or disagree with each of our picks. And yeah, let's get this money, guys. Let's do it. Before we talk about this card, uh, wanted to go over uh, last week's event, talk about how we did. And first, we'll start with you. How are your bets?
I was positive everywhere. Um, Last card, I wasn't really betting too much. I just stuck to my highest confident plays, and it was only really three fights that I was betting on, and yeah, it did pretty well with the over 2.5 Usman and the Rose pick.
Yep. So that was your best bets that you put in last week, and I agreed with it. I remember I thought it was a very solid two leg parlay. So that was a really good hit. My pick, on the other hand, was absolutely terrible. I mean, literally in the first, it was the over 2.5 AJ Dobson Edmund Shabazian fight. Literally in the first 30 seconds, like watching that fight, I knew right away. I was like, "Oh fuck, this is gonna end in a knockout." Because, um, yeah, it just looked really bad, and it was crazy because I thought AJ Dobson was gonna knock out Edmund, and it turned out that Edmund actually knocked out AJ Dobson. So I was kind of thinking like where I went wrong with that pick, and I think in the first 30 seconds, I just realized that, damn, like Edmund is very flaky. He looks like a very flaky fighter. And so I thought Dobson was, if not, if he wasn't going to knock him out in the first round, it definitely was going to happen in the second. But I think what ended up happening was after that wrestling exchange, Dobson, Edmund was able to get back up on his feet, and Dobson was very fatigued. And obviously Edmund hits very hard, so wobbled Dobson. Dobson fell back, and that was that. So that was actually like a terrible pick, and so I apologize to that. Apologize to pure pickers who followed that pick. Another one I want to talk about is um, this Stephen Nguyen fight, man. Like Gerard, I think it's been a running theme these past 2 weeks, man. I think we got to stop backing these fighters where
Asians.
yeah, we have some sort of a bias because I mean there's not a more obvious pass fight than this Jarno Aarons and Stephen Nguyen fight. I mean, the only reason I can't believe we laid chalk minus like 180 on Stephen Nguyen, just because this guy's Vietnamese and James is Vietnamese. But yeah, never again, man. Like these bias picks don't seem to work. That one week it was fucking Huli Bao. This week it
Really
was
bad.
Stephen Nguyen. I think, yeah, man, I think it's only Chinese fighters, Gerard. So,
Hey, I picked Song Yudong, so that wasn't good either.
yeah, that is true. That is true. I forgot about that. So it seems like Chinese fighters ain't it either. But this was a terrible pick, man. Like easiest pass fight. I mean, I can't believe this fight went the distance, to be honest, because both fighters got wobbled countless times in that fight. But it was a very comedic and hilarious fight. But moving on, let's go back to UFC Atlantic City. Again, like I said, I think this card has a lot of parlay pieces, in my opinion, and a lot of gigalocks. But me and Gerard, we're each going to give you our best bets. So Gerard, why don't we start with you? What is your best bet for this UFC fight card?
So my best bet this week is the over 2.5 on the Malkoun Petroski fight and Jamall Emmers money line, 2 leg parlay.
Over 2.5 at minus. So this two leg parlay is a plus 126. I assume, the unit sizing is 1 unit, or are you going a little bit more here?
Yeah, I'm starting with 1 unit early this.
Okay. No, that sounds good. So let's talk about these picks. So right off the bat, why don't we go with Jamal Emmers? Why are you picking him?
Yeah, so Emmers and Nate Landwehr. I think Emmers is no Emmers is the more technical fighter here in terms of his choices of where to take the fight. I think he's more technical in the stand up and the especially the wrestling, the grappling. Um, I think he has sneaky power, even though he's not known to knock out people, and he has good footwork and he has quick first step. For Nate, I kind of also like Nate as a fighter. He's a decent striker. He's got good pace, so he keeps coming at you for 3 rounds. But I think he gets kind of sloppy because he kind of prefers to get into some brawling spots and he gets kind of wild at times. So in this fight, I think Nate's best chance to win is to make it a dogfight, get it sloppy, get in close quarters more often, get get Emmers to be uncomfortable. But Nate is solid enough in the grappling and he has some sub threats, but I just think Emmers is gonna just be better overall. And I think Emmers will find counters to anything that Nate throws at him.
So, you know, I agree with you that Jamal Emmers looks way better, in my opinion, on the feet. Like technical striking, like he looks like the much cleaner striker and the guy that can hit a lot harder. Um, what do you think about the cardio though between both of them?
For the cardio, I think Emmers is fine in the cardio. I think him being a having a wrestling background and we seen him in a lot of decision fights already and he doesn't seem to get tired. The only
Hmm.
problems he would have is if he gets the scorecards and then the judges think a certain way or he gets caught early with a submission against Sabatini. From what I've seen, he looks fine for 3 rounds. And yeah, I think
So
he'll have he'll look better in the grappling exchanges, I think.
yeah, I mean, I know Emmers is he's great on his feet and he's great grappling and wrestling. Do you think he's a low IQ fighter though? Because like he does find ways to lose fights.
Mhm. But I think he's matured at this point. I mean, he's seen how I think is also the some of these judging has been kind of weird. So I don't know. I don't know if I put it all on Emmers, me
Yeah,
personally, because he's looked good in those losses.
yeah, no, I agree. This was definitely a leg that I was also looking at. Just, based on optics, Emmers looks a lot better on the feet. And I've always liked Emmers, to be honest. Um, I've always thought highly of him. I think he's very skilled. So, I like the pick for sure. So let's talk about your second pick, the over 2.5 between Malkoun and Petroski.
Yeah, so Malkoun and Petroski, both these guys, they have a grappling background. Malkoun has the wrestling and Petroski is like a jujitsu nerd. And I think in a lot of the grappling, it'll be kind of halted in like a stalemate with clock getting burned in this fight. But I think Malkoun will have the better positions of the wrestling, and because of that, I don't think it'll be easy for Petroski to find a submission. And in terms of the stand-up, I think Malkoun's the better stand-up fighter. Um, Petroski has power, but he throws kind of wild, and it's like you can see it coming from a mile away. And so I think both of these fighters are solid enough to not get finished. But yeah, I see this going over 2.5.
So if there is a finish, whose side is that? Who's going to get the finish?
Well, it kind of threw a wrench from Petroski's last fight when I saw him get finished like super quick
Hmm.
by uh, Michelle.
Hmm.
But I think there's a possibility. There's always a possibility of a sub threat when you have Petroski in there. But I just think that Malkoun's just too good in the grappling. I think. I mean, we saw him against Brendan Allen, and you could say that he arguably won that fight against Brendan Allen. And Brendan Allen's a pretty good grappler himself. Um, as far as the stand up, I'm not sure if Malkoun could finish him in the stand up, but I'm kind of scared. So Malkoun might have something there too, because we just seen Petroski get finished pretty badly. So if I were to say there was a way that this fight finds a finish, I'll
Hmm.
slightly lean Petroski, but I really don't think it's going to happen.
Okay, so if I'm getting what you're saying if Petroski finds a finish, it'll be a submission on Malkoun, who
Hmm.
has zero submission losses. Let's put that out
Yeah,
there.
zero
Um,
losses, submission.
I see here that Malkoun has one knockout loss in the first round. Can Petroski get a knockout win?
It's less likely, I would say, than the sub,
Yep,
and I think Malkoun will be able to see the punches thrown at him.
yep, yep. I agree.
Petroski
I agree.
throws heavy and telegraph.
And then you're saying on the Malkoun side, if you were to get a finish, it would be a knockout. And uh, the reason that you're a little bit scared is because Michelle Pereira uh, utterly dominated
Yeah,
Petroski.
first round, quick, quick work.
Yep, just just like Michelle Pereira did to fuck, who's that guy, man?
Mikhail Olachechik.
Yeah, legit check. So yeah, Michelle's a killer, man. So okay, I mean, I like this pick too. I think it's a decent best bet, and to be honest, yeah, I do like it. Plus 126, that's some value right there. I think it'll hit more often than not. So it looks good, man.
Hmm.
Why don't we go to my best bet? And I played this earlier today, and tell me what you think about it, okay? So it's also going to be a two-leg parlay, and both of them are going to be round props. The first one is, let me find it real quick. Victoria Dudakova and Melissa Gatto over 2.5. That's the first leg. And the second leg is Lupi and Virna over 2.5. And so my play is going to be one unit to win 1.06. And to begin, I'll talk about the Melissa Gatto and Dudakova fight. So last fight, Dudakova fought against Jin Yu Frey, and I think she closed at a minus 500. So she was a huge, huge favorite. And if you rewatch that fight, she didn't really look like a minus 500. All three judges, she got the unanimous decision, 29-28. But she didn't look like a minus 500 at all. And then after the fight, it was found out that she had a staph infection on her ass cheek. And obviously, she went into that fight overweight. And, she mentioned that the weight cutting process was very torturous. So I think that staph infection had a lot of impact on her last fight and how she looked. With that said, she still got the win. So she's an incredibly tough girl. She's undefeated, 8-0. And so for this fight against Melissa Gatto, Dudakova is moving up a weight class to flyweight. Um, and on the feet, I would give the advantage to Melissa Gatto. I think she definitely hits harder. Um, but I don't think either fighter has one punch knockout power. And what I really like about this fight is both fighters have grappling or wrestling experience that they can lean on if they ever feel uncomfortable or if they're ever in trouble. And that's, when I look at like round props for the over, I like a lot of fighters that know how to grapple, know how to wrestle, because it's a very useful way of, just burning clock. And both of these fighters, Dudakova and Melissa Gatto, Dudakova in particular, she's great at wrestling. Melissa Gatto, she's very great at BJJ off her back. And so, in this fight, I can see Melissa Gatto just being comfortable off her back, throwing up submission attempts, and Dudakova, just from being in top control and being comfortable there. I don't think Dudakova gets into a lot of bad situations. Uh, like I said, I think she's very tough. And it was interesting because if you look at the line movement for this fight, um, where is it? Dudakova opened as a minus 220. Now she's a plus 126. That is insane. Insane line movement. And I was thinking about it, and like I can kind of see why, I think based on the tape, Gatto looks better on the feet and she looks more dangerous on the ground. So I could kind of understand that. But I just think that Dudakova is an incredibly tough girl. And I think this over is going to hit more often than not. So let me know what you think about that pick, Gerard.
I guess women's MMA, it's probably more likely that this will go to over 2.5. But the reason why I also didn't put this in my best bet when I was looking at over unders
Hmm.
was because I was afraid of Melissa Gatto. She in the grappling
Mm.
and at a higher weight division, she we might see another sub
Yep.
possibly
Um,
happening when I
mhm.
picked an over at another fight at another card with McKenny McKenna McKenna and
Corey McKenna and Amarim.
yeah, yeah.
Um, no, I completely understand that. I mean, dude, Gatto throws up like a shit ton of submission triangles from her back. So I definitely understand the reasoning for that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think, my rebuttal is just that, I've seen Dudakova. She's really tough and I think she's very sturdy, and she has high fight IQ. So to me, that's a lock. But I can see why you might have reservations with that pick. But let's move on to the over 2.5 on the other women's MMA fight. Lupi Godinez versus where is she? I can never say her name correctly, man. Shit is crazy.
Virna Jandiroba.
Right here. Lupi against Virna. I'm gonna just call her Virna. Um, so this is another leg that I really like. I think it's a giga lock. I mean, neither fighter has ever been knocked out or submitted, if I remember correctly. Let me just check really quickly. So Virna, yep, never been knocked out, nor has she been submitted. Right here, she has 13 submission wins, by the way. Loopy, on the other hand, yep, hasn't been knocked out or submitted. And this goes back to a little bit of what I said in my first leg. You know, when both fighters have grappling and wrestling experience, I really like the overs there because um, it tells me, like, again, that these fighters are, when they get into sticky situations, they will be able to utilize that grappling and wrestling to burn as much clock as possible. Now, I showed you that Virna has 13 submission wins, but actually, the the fighter that I'm more worried about is actually Virna, because watching that Virna fight against Marina Rodriguez, if you looked at the third round, oh my God, like sh Marina was like sniping her in that third round, and Virna looked really, really gassed. And so my fear is that, again, I for these overs, I also don't like if a fighter is flaky. I like tough fighters, ones that can, are durable and will be able to take damage. And looking at Virna in that third round against Marina Rodriguez, it looked a little bit dicey. And so, I mean, thing about Virna is she's gonna go for those grappling exchanges. She's going to shoot for takedowns. But of course, Loopy is a very sturdy woman, and excellent at wrestling. So that's the only worry for me, is that Loopy will stuff these half-ass takedowns in the third round and start unloading some volume on her. But with that said, I still think this is going to hit. I would still put it in parlays. So what do you think about that, Gerard?
So you're saying you're more scared that Verna gasses out
Yep,
towards the third round and then
yep,
just gets finished?
exactly.
Okay. So that's also one to think about. But
Hmm.
the one that I was also scared of is why I didn't play this over was because it was basically the same the same thing with the Melissa Gatto and Victoria fight. I think I'm kind a little scarred from playing the over on the McKenna fight. And if there's a lot of grappling in women's MMA, the easiest way to get a finish is by sub. So that's the reason why I didn't include them in my best bet picks. But I mean, this women's MMA and both these girls are pretty tough, so I think it has a good shot of hitting.
Yep,
They
exactly.
both
Just,
haven't been finished, right? With they both haven't been finished. Yeah.
yeah, neither fighter has been finished. So, we know that they're tough in that respect. And again, just to echo what you said earlier, it is true. When women's MMA fights uh, hit on the under, it's usually from a submission, because KOs are definitely harder to come by for women's MMA. So yeah, that's going to be my two-leg parlay. Again, one unit to win 1.06. And Gerard obviously gave his two fights. And so that's going to be our best bets. I agree with Gerard's picks. Gerard obviously has some reservations with mine. But I think both of these parlays should hit. And I'm pretty confident that they will hit. So yeah, really looking forward to this fight card. Gerard, do you have anything else you want to say about this card in particular, or anything?
I think this is a good card overall. A lot of fun fights here, and a lot of more plays to be had in this card that we haven't spoken of as of yet. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, we have three picks locked in already in our Bet MMA tips. We have one underdog and a straight under pick. So consider signing up at purepicks.gg. Um, but other than that, we'd really appreciate it if you can like the video, comment, or subscribe. It would really help us out. But other than that, thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you guys next week for another edition of Best Bets.